I see the quiet resolve in your eyes and the fatigue behind it. That specific kind of weariness that doesn't come from a long day, but from a long cycle. The cycle of starting over. You know this path so well. The fierce determination of day 1, the hopeful energy of day 3, and then the slow fade. The missed day that feels like a betrayal. The voice that whispers, see, I knew you couldn't do it. And then the reset, the shame, the promise to yourself that this time will be different. You are not weak, you are not a failure, you are not a failure. You are tired of the same story. Tired of meeting the same version of yourself at the same old breaking point. But what if the problem isn't you? What if the problem is the story you've been telling yourself about what it means to start? We think starting over means going back to the beginning, back to square one. But what if you never left the path? What if every single attempt, every failed day 4, every broken promise was just another step? A difficult, messy, painful step, but a step forward on the same road. You have been collecting data. You have been learning the terrain of your own resistance. You now know where the traps are. You know the time of day your willpower fades. You know the excuses that sound most convincing to you. This isn't starting over. This is continuing. The person who began this journey months ago with all that bright, naive hope, that person is gone. You are not them. You are the person who survived the fade. You are the one who knows what it feels like to fall, and you are still here. So stop trying to start over. You are not a video game character being reset to the opening level. You are an archaeologist carefully brushing the dust from an ancient, beautiful artifact. The person you are meant to be. Some days you find a huge piece, some days you just brush. But you are always on the same dig. The goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to be present. Just for today. Just for today. Not for 30 days, not for a whole week, just for this one single day. Lower the bar from change your life forever to honor your promise just for the next 24 hours. The grand masterpiece of your transformation will be a mosaic. Speak. It will be made of 1,000 tiny broken pieces, your so-called failures, your restarts, your doubts, all fitted together to create a picture of stunning resilience. So take the pressure off. You don't have to start over. You just have to continue. We are culturally conditioned to view progress as a linear, upward trajectory, a clean, unbroken line from intention to achievement. We create a plan and we expect to follow it flawlessly. Any deviation from this perfect line, a missed day at the gym, a moment of indulgent spending, a burst of anger, is immediately categorized as a failure. This failure is then framed not as a stumble, but as a total collapse. The narrative we inherit and internalize is one of square one. We tell ourselves, I've ruined it. I have to start all over again. This belief that we are perpetually starting over is the psychological engine of the cycle. It creates an immense paralyzing weight. The prospect of having to relive the difficult early days of a new habit, the sore muscles, the intense cravings, the raw willpower, feels so daunting that it often seems easier to just abandon the endeavor entirely. Why put yourself through the pain of day 1 again when you know the disappointment of a future failure is likely? This all or nothing mindset is the true adversary. It ignores the complex, non-linear reality of human growth and learning. It fails to account for the subtle shifts in self-awareness, the deepened understanding of personal triggers, and the quiet resilience built by simply returning to the effort after a lapse. When you believe you are starting over, you discard all the accrued wisdom from your previous attempts. You treat yourself as the same person who began the journey, ignoring the fact that you are now someone who has experienced the stumble and still chosen to get back up. This narrative is a lie that erases your progress and magnifies your setbacks, ensuring you remain trapped in a loop of your own making. The path to breaking the cycle begins with dismantling this foundational story. The feeling of being trapped in a cycle of starting over is profoundly demoralizing and Agility. It chips away at your self-trust and creates a narrative of personal failure. However, this feeling is based on a critical misdiagnosis. The problem is not a lack of willpower or a fundamental character flaw. The problem is a flawed and incomplete story you are telling yourself about the very nature of the journey. You've been sold a myth of linear, uninterrupted progress, and when you're human, messy reality fails to match this fantasy. You interpret the discrepancy as proof of your inadequacy. The story that a single misstep erases all progress and sends you back to square one is a lie. It is a story that serves no one. It doesn't account for the neurological pathways that were strengthened during your successful days, pathways that remain even after a lapse. It doesn't account for the knowledge you gained about your own habits, the time of day you are most vulnerable, the emotional triggers that derail you, the environments that support your success. This is not data you lose when you fail. This is intelligence you carry forward. The person who begins again after a stumble is not the same person who started the first time. That initial version of you is operating on theory and hope. The current version of you is operating on lived experience and hard-won self-knowledge. You are not starting over. You are continuing with a more detailed map. You now know where the swamps and the quicksand are. You know which bridges are weak. This is not a setback. It is an advancement in your strategic understanding. The exhaustion you feel is the exhaustion of believing a story that forces you to willfully ignore your own accumulated wisdom. The moment you change the story from "I am starting over" to "I am continuing with new intelligence," you disarm the cycle. The pressure for perfection vanishes, replaced by the more compassionate and accurate framework of a learner on a long, winding path of mastery. The goal is no longer to be flawless, but to be a perceptive and resilient traveler who learns from every twist and turn in the road. The metaphor of the video game character is a powerful illustration of a disempowering mindset. In a game, when your character fails or loses a life, you are often reset to a predetermined starting point. All progress made in that level is erased. The enemies respawn, the obstacles reset, and you are forced to navigate the exact same challenges from the exact same position, with no memory of your previous attempt. This is precisely how we often treat our personal growth. A lapse in discipline feels like a game over screen, and we believe we must respawn back at day one. A place of naive hope, but also of ignorance, having gained nothing from the experience that just ended. The alternative metaphor, the archaeologist, fundamentally reshapes this perspective. An archaeologist on a dig does not start over every morning. They return to the same site. Some days, they may make a breathtaking discovery, unearthing a major artifact that changes the entire understanding of the site. Other days, they may spend hours carefully brushing away dust, seemingly making no visible progress. There are days of rain where no work is possible at all, but the work of the previous days is never erased. The dust that was brushed away remains gone. The map of the site becomes more detailed. The understanding of the soil layers deepens. Every single day, regardless of the immediate outcome, contributes to the ultimate goal of revealing the hidden structure. You are that archaeologist, and the ancient, beautiful artifact is the person you are meant to be. Your failures are not resets. They are the careful removal of layers of fear, habit, and limitation that have obscured your true self. The days you just brush are not wasted. They are essential, meticulous preparation. This metaphor honors the cumulative, often invisible nature of real transformation. It values patience, persistence, and the understanding that profound change is a process of revelation, not a race to a finish line. You are not resetting. You are returning to the sacred work of uncovering who you have always been. The ambition to change your life forever is both noble and paralyzing. It is a goal of such immense scope and weight that it can crush the motivation required to begin the very first step. The mind, faced with the terrifying prospect of a permanent monumental overhaul, often chooses the safer option: no change at all. The grandiosity of the goal becomes the very reason for its failure. The speech's call to lower the bar is not a call for mediocrity. It is a strategic masterstroke of behavioral psychology. It is the act of breaking down the monolithic, impossible task of forever into the manageable, bite-sized unit of the next 24 hours. The human will is not designed to sustain a perpetual state of peak performance. It is designed for sprints. By shifting your focus from a lifelong commitment to a daily one, you transform an existential crisis into a simple, executable plan. The question is no longer, can I do this for the rest of my life? Which is unknowable and daunting. The question becomes, can I do this just for today? This is a question you can almost always answer with yes. The power of this shift is that it creates a sustainable rhythm of success. Each day you honor your promise becomes a building block of self-trust. You are no longer a person trying to build a skyscraper in a single day. You are a person who successfully laid one brick today. And tomorrow you will lay another. This process builds momentum. The pressure and shame associated with the all or nothing mindset dissolve because you have redefined everything to mean today. A missed day is no longer a catastrophic failure that invalidates your entire journey. It is simply a day where you did not lay a brick. The site is still there tomorrow, waiting for you to continue. This radical focus on the present moment makes the path feel possible. It allows you to accumulate a string of small victories, each one reinforcing the belief that you are capable of change. The goal of forever will take care of itself if you can simply string together enough successful todays. The final transformative insight is a radical redefinition of what constitutes a successful life. We are taught to admire the pristine, unbroken statue, a life that appears seamless, victorious, and free of cracks or flaws. We chase this ideal, and when our own journey inevitably reveals fractures, our stumbles, our restarts, our doubts, we see them as evidence that we are broken, that the statue is ruined. The mosaic metaphor shatters this destructive paradigm. A mosaic is an art form that finds its beauty and strength, not in spite of its broken pieces, but because of them. Each shard, the failed attempt, the moment of weakness, the day you had to start again, is not a flaw to be hidden. It is an essential, integral piece of the final picture. Your resilience is not built by avoiding breaks, but by learning the art of reassembly. The person who has never fallen has never had to discover their own capacity to get back up. The person who has never doubted has never had to choose faith. The mosaic of your life will be far richer, more complex, and more compelling than any monolithic statue could ever be. Its beauty lies in its intricate patterns of light and shadow, its testimony to a journey marked by both struggle and grace. When you embrace this perspective, you stop seeing your past failures as shameful secrets and begin to see them as the unique, irreplaceable materials from which you're crafting a one-of-a-kind masterpiece. Your resilience is not the absence of breaking, it is the vibrant pattern you create with the pieces. This is the ultimate liberation, to understand that your stumbles are not the end of your story, but the very materials that give it depth, color, and a beauty that is entirely authentically your own.